Okay, so here we are live once again with another Masters of the Universe Masterverse unboxing, and this is the Vintage Collection Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction. And you can see that it's a different type of packaging from what we usually get with Masterverse. It's still a box with a window in the front, but you can see that it has the classic exploding red rocks on a blue starlit background and looks very much like the vintage action figure packaging with the same fonts and everything. Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction, and that's because this is part of the vintage collection. I have opened one figure in this vintage collection so far, which is the 40th anniversary He-Man figure, and you know how much I love that figure. I even wound up buying a second one when I saw him on sale at Walmart. They had him like marked down to like $15, and I'm like, I'll just buy a second one of these because I love this figure so much. So of course, when I saw that they had these up on the Walmart app, I jumped at the chance to pick up a vintage collection Skeletor, and hopefully it will be just as cool as that 40th anniversary He-Man figure was. So we look at the back, and we got a picture kind of reminiscent of the artwork that was on the back of the original Skeletor packaging. It's not the same piece of artwork, of course, by Errol McCarthy, but it does kind of have the same sort of vibe to it with Skeletor skulking around the exterior of Castle Grayskull. And it says, Skeletor ruthlessly schemes to take control of Castle Grayskull and all Eternia. And then Masters of the Universe 7-inch action figures, 7.78 centimeters. You can collect them all, each sold separately, but they only have one figure on the cross salt artwork on the back. So I have collected them all. I now have them all because I have this one. So I don't have to buy any more He-Man action figures ever again. Oh, like that's gonna stop me. Just in case you're curious, that's what the bottom of the package looks like, and both sides of the package extend with the illustration in the background of the exploding red rocks. So anyway, let's go ahead and open them up. Oh, I should point out also that it does have this kind of Castle Grayskull like stone pattern down at the bottom. So that's pretty cool. That reminds me a lot of Masters of the Universe Classics, actually. Oh, and it does say here on the back. I'm guessing. I think this was the same text that was on the 40th anniversary He-Man. In 1982, Masters of the Universe took the world by storm with action figures that captured the imagination of people from here to Eternia. Today, the Masterverse celebrates the original designs as modern 7-inch scale action figures with the vintage collection. So let's go ahead and open them up because I've been looking forward to this guy for a while. Oh, I do have some other stuff upcoming on the channel. Even though we're done with Skeletor, our little mini Skeletor theme within our Masters of the Universe theme, we're still not done with Masters of the Universe, and I got a lot more cool stuff to come. And here's something that I actually just got today. I finally got Slamurai, and you remember how much I've been talking about how much I want Slamurai, and like he's just basically a repainted ninja, but I love ninjas, and would like to have a white ninja to be the enemy of the black ninja. I'm talking their outfits, not their races. I'm not trying to start a race war with ninjas. That's just stupid. So, but but yeah. So I finally got Samurai. But look at this package, and this is. I'm going to talk more about this when when uh, when I open up this action figure, which will be sometime in the near future. But needless to say, I got this from Amazon, and it wasn't cheap, and this was what they sent me. So I guess we'll have more to talk about when we actually open a Slamurai. I guess Slamurai should be lucky though. Here's the and I only paid $10 for this one, but here's the Man at Arms figure they sent me. I already opened this one, so this is custom fodder, is what that is. All right, we'll set both of those aside. Now back to Skeletor. Oh man, you got no idea what all the cool stuff I got to show you. Like since I'm getting into Turtles of Grayskull now, finally, it's taking me long enough, but I've been making efforts to because like they have variants of all the Ninja Turtles now, and of course I want to have one of each turtle. So I'm basically looking at whichever turtle that I like best and picking that one. But I might wind up getting some of the variants too. Like both of the Donatello figures I thought were really cool, and both of the Leonardo figures I thought were really cool. So I might wind up getting doubles of those. but I picked out one Michelangelo, and if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know which one Michelangelo that is. And I picked out one Raphael. So and that hasn't arrived yet, but I do have my Michelangelo and my Donatello. All right, so as is the case oftentimes with these, there's a little cubby hole over here with some accessories in it. So let's go ahead and get that out, and it's in the little paper baggie. It's in a red paper baggie with the kind of Revelation looking Masters of the Universe logo on there. And I know this is on all the the Masterverse. That's just the kind of Masters of the Universe logo they use on those. But I associate it most with Revelation, and of course, Revelation was the first wave of these. So we get the Power Sword, and I'm guessing these are going to be some extra hands. Indeed, they are. So we have one open claw hand. We'll set that aside, and we have one solid fist. And I'm noticing this is a very pale blue. It's a lot paler than the traditional skin color. It doesn't quite come across as pale on the camera, but trust me, it's quite a bit paler in person. The traditional skin color that Skeletor has in the Origins line, and it's a bit paler and a little bit more on the greenish side of blue than the purplish side of blue than the blue skin of the Filmation cartoon collection. And then the other accessory that was in that packet is the Power Sword. And this time the Power Sword, since it's with Skeletor, is molded in a nice dark metallic purple and looks really sharp. And since I happen to have nearby one of the He-Man Power Swords, I believe this is the one that came with Viking He-Man, the new Eternia, the first new Eternia He-Man. We can see that it is the same exact mold, only He-Man's is in a pearlescent silver color with gray painted on the wraps, and this one is in purple, and I believe it's kind of hard to tell from the lighting in here, but I believe that's black wraps. It could be a dark purple wrap also, but again, it's kind of hard to tell because of the lighting in here. I'll have to take it out in the sun later and tell. And of course, packaged in with Skeletor, we have the Havoc staff. So let's go ahead and get that out. And like most Havoc staffs on the large size figures, I find they made this Havoc staff a little too big. And I don't mean too long. I mean like it's too thick. Well, it's girthy is what it is. Yeah, I said it. Trying to impress Evelyn with his girthy purple staff with its ram head. And yeah, there's the Havoc staff with the ram skull on the front. And this is one of those where like I kind of feel like it's tilted at an angle, so it looks better when he's pointing it at you than when he's actually holding it up. But the thing about these larger Havoc staffs, and since I happen to have a more vintage style one from the Origins line, I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. Is I think they kind of base them proportionally on how the original toy was made. But the original toy, the staff is much shorter than the staff usually is when a 7-inch figure holds it. Like when I put one with an Origins Skeletor, you can see that I have him holding it where the ram's head is kind of parallel to the top of his head, but you can see it doesn't quite reach down to his feet. Whereas this one, when we put it next to Skeletor, you'll see is that it stands a bit taller than Skeletor. So it is longer proportionally compared to it's longer just period because it's made for a bigger figure, but proportionally to the figure it's longer. And they did not change the proportions of the length of the staff to the girth of the staff. So then we wind up with a staff that's much girthier than the staff usually is. And that's why like it's like really, if he's holding a staff, he should be holding it about like this, I figure, where like, the thumb is just kind of barely overlapping on the fingers, but instead he's holding it like he's holding a can of soda or something. And I don't know if that works very well. All right, so let's go ahead and get Skeletor himself out of the package. And of course, he has the infamous rubber tabs all around him beset on all sides by rubber tabs. So let's go ahead and get those off. And I'm just going to go in from the back this time because they're like way deep in the package. Like not only do they have to put these rubber tabs around them, but they have to put them around them like at the points in the package where it's just the absolute deepest, and you really would have to dig for them. So I'm having to go through on the other side. Sneak attack, as it were. All right. So we'll go. We got Skeletor out of the package. And you know what I forgot to do before I came over here is I forgot to bring the Masterverse Skeletor with me, the first new Eternia version, because I wanted to compare that one a little bit. And I do have two of these because not only do I really like this figure, A, not only is it easy to get this figure for cheap, B, but since he's got two different heads, you know, I like to be able to swap out the heads. And yeah, maybe I left it in this box. No, I don't think I did. So yeah, here he is with the what they call the barbarian head with the helmet and the goatee. But for the purposes of this, I think it's going to be better if I take off all these barbarian accoutrements. So we remove the barbarian helmet, and I actually have the cape stuck on with a little piece of double-sided tape, a little piece of that double-sided mounting tape. But I really want to compare the. I'm gonna have to use another piece of tape on this again, aren't I? Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through all that again. So we're just gonna instead just I'll just look at it as best I can. Yep, this is definitely a different harness. I was thinking it was probably a different harness because I was thinking it was probably a different torso. And the new Skeletor looks like it uses the same torso as the 40th anniversary He-Man, which makes sense because you'd want them to be in proportion to each other. And I could have sworn that I had that other Masterverse Skeletor head over here, but I don't. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and put the Barbarian head back on. So, but we can still compare the rest of the body. Now, I was thinking that this guy would reuse the same hands, if nothing else. And it does look like the left hand that's on this guy is the same, but the right hand is different because the right hand does not have the pointing finger like the new Eternia one does. And this is entirely different armor. The breastplate is different. The belt is different. You can see that the leather straps hanging down from the belt of New Eternia Skeletor are much thicker. This is a little more proportioned like the toy, I think. And this one does not have the same feet because this one has more mini comic style shins and five-toed, five-clawed feet. And this one has kind of the traditional Skeletor feet, the three claws with the purple that matches up to the shin guards. Where like when I was a kid, I wasn't sure if these were boots or his actual feet. It always baffled me. And these are the same lower legs that were on the new Eternia Zodak figure. And he's got looks like he's got the same forearms. Yeah, I believe these are the same arms entirely because these are common upper arms and the same forearms that are on the new Eternia Skeletor. So looks like the parts that are shared are the forearms and the legs, or the whole arms, but really the forearms on these. The same legs and upper legs and the same upper arms that are pretty standard for this. He's got the 40th anniversary He-Man chest, and that's really all the parts they have in common is just the arms and the legs. That's it. You would think that they could have gotten away with using a little bit more, but they didn't. And it does look like that the fur parts of the loincloth on this guy are the same sculpt as on the vintage figure, but they're not the same piece. It's just based on the same sculpt. So, all right, let's go ahead and I want to have a look at this head, and we'll see how this armor comes off. And there's it's kind of like kind of like the 2000X, where like it's the two straps that meet at the back. It doesn't open up like a bra like the original Skeletor and the original He-Man did. It's got where like the two straps kind of go up into the cowl like that. And the cowl is very nicely designed. It's got like a really cool leather texture. Of course, it has the bat emblem embossed onto it, and it's got the crossbones, which are in a very light metallic purple. Looks really cool. And then the belt comes off at the weight. You just unsnap it like that. And then he's just got a plain black loincloth underneath. And if we compare to here's a Revelation He-Man. So there's one of our He-Man figures. We can see that the belt is the same, but the actual loincloth part is different because Skeletor's is a bit shorter. And if I thought to bring this over here to compare with me, I would bet that the loincloth is the same exact loincloth mold as what we saw on the 40th anniversary He-Man figure. All right, so that having been looked at, and you can see what I'm talking about. This is a very pale blue. It's a good blue color for Skeletor, I think. I would probably go with making it a little more lighter and grayer, but this is still a pretty good Skeletor blue, I think. Although, like, my ideal Skeletor blue, I have to say my favorite Skeletor blue is on the 2000X Origins figure, which I believe matches up with the original 2000X figure fairly well. But I really like the color scheme of that one with the really dark purple and the more grayish blue. That's probably my favorite color scheme for Skeletor. So let's go ahead and get this strap back onto him, the harness. And one thing that I did not point out also is that he does have a little strap in the back, a little permanently molded strap, and that will hold his power sword when we put that back onto him. Now the belt just kind of snaps in the back with a peg, and I think I probably would have rather had a strap with a buckle so you can get that a little more tight, because it does seem to kind of move around kind of loosely on him. Like you can pull it down over his belt, and technically that's kind of snug, but if you move his legs, it's going to knock it back out of joint again. So I think putting a strap on there would have been better, like a buckle and strap. And he does have the problem that traditionally the vintage Skeletor had, where like the hood does not quite meet the cowl, so you got this little bit of blue neck showing through there. And it's a very well sculpted head. It is very reminiscent of, it's not identical to it, but it is very reminiscent of the original vintage Skeletor head. And just to compare, again, I have the Origins version of the Skeletor head, and you can see how like these two guys are both descended from the same figure. Now, obviously, like I think with Origins, they leaned a little more into the toyetic qualities of it with the brighter colors and the more simplistic paint jobs. And it looks good for what it is. And for what it is it's supposed to look like a child's toy, and not just a child's toy, but an 80s child's toy where like the paint applications weren't quite as advanced as they are these days. However, our new Skeletor, the Masterverse version, goes in the opposite direction. And while it takes the basic look of that vintage Skeletor figure, it adds more paint decos and more detail to it. And you see it's got like a nice wash over it, and that really brings out a lot of the finer details. And speaking of finer details, he's actually got like a fabric texture in the hood. Looks really cool. Really brings an element of realism to it that is missing from most Skeletor figures. And then you can see like even that there's like a little bit of space in there, like in between the hood and the chin. It's a really nice looking head. I really like it. So, and then the armor itself, like I said, dark purple, very dark purple. If it was any darker, it'd be black. And you got some light purple metallic accents here and there, and it really just makes the whole thing kind of pop. I do think, like I said, he's a little pale for Skeletor, but I still think it's a good blue color for him. It does contrast quite a bit though with the darker purple of the armor and everything like that. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. So Skeletor can look up about that far. He can look down about that far. He tilts his head kind of quickly from side to side, rotate his head all the way around. He can move his arms all the way around to the shoulders, of course, and the arms move up about that far. He does have a bicep sole, so the bicep rotates all the way around. He's got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows, and I feel like we could actually get a little bit more, if not for the fact that his fin kind of bumps into his bicep a little bit there. Now I'm having a hard time getting this arm moved back down. Oh, no wonder the arm got shifted around the wrong way. So I gotta figure out how to get that back into joint. Man, where did you go? Is that all the way up there? There we go. Okay. Now I got it fixed. All right. Now, like most Masterverse figures, he does have, even though you can't really see it, he does have a, you probably saw it earlier when I took the armor off, he does have a mid-torso joint, and it's very cleverly hidden by the straps of his harness, but you can move that around any which way you want to like that, and it turns slightly. Not all the way, it seems to kind of stop at a certain point where the plastic, I think, bumps into each other, but you can twist his waist all the way around, so you can still get some good posing out of that. He can do the splits, no problem. Skeletor can kick up about that far, which is a pretty good range of motion for somebody who's that muscle bound. Looks like he's stretching out before he does a race, doesn't it? Oh man. So and then he's got a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around. He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. He's got boot cuts. The boot rotates all the way around. Foot points down about that far, and foot points up about that far. So great range of motion as far as the articulation on this figure goes. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, that are watching this are big fans of Masters of the Universe classics. And if you're a fan of Masters of the Universe at all, and you're not a fan of Masters of the Universe classics, I can only assume you've never heard of them. But for people who were like me collecting toys around that time, those were like some of the hottest action figures. And I'm sure if you are somebody who, like me, was collecting those and you've got your original classic Skeletor, you're probably looking at that guy and being, yeah, he's pretty cool, but he's not as cool as the classics Skeletor. Well, I'm going to say this. Controversial opinion time. This one rivals that one. I'm not saying this one's better, but I'm not going to say that one's better than this one either. I think they both have a lot of really good qualities that they kind of even out a little bit. And I honestly think if you've got a preference between this one and that one, it's really more a matter of personal taste than how well the figures are actually done. But I will say a couple of things that make this one a little more that might make you want to purchase this one if you don't already have the classics version. Is that this one's going to be a little easier to find, and it's certainly going to be easier to find for a good price right now. I was just looking at He-Man figures on the Walmart app this morning. They've still got this guy for sale. He's only $21 versus, like, I don't know how much a classic Skeletor would even be right now, but I'm guessing at least like close to $100. $75. That's my lowball estimate for how much you'd be able to get a decent Skeletor from classics, and that's only because he was one that they tried to constantly keep in production because they knew as long as they had that line going, there were going to be people that wanted He-Man and people that wanted Skeletor. So they tried to keep those figures constantly on the website. Even then, they haven't made classics in a long time. So the supply's dried up somewhat, which is why I'm saying they're probably a lot more expensive right now. So if you're wanting to get into figures in this scale, and I say that loosely because Masterverse is a little bit of a bigger scale, just ever so slightly. I think they're like half an inch taller than classics, but I still feel like they're interchangeable. They still look close enough to each other that like you could use one with the other. If you're wanting to start to collect the larger, more adult collector scale of He-Man figures, this is probably about the best Skeletor figure you're going to be able to get, unless you're willing to pay a premium price for that classics version. So this is definitely a good one to get. Or, get this guy who's like really cheap right now, and he's pretty good too. So if I had to rank them, I would rank this one actually slightly higher on the by that one scale than the classics version, just because you're going to be able to get them for a better price. That's the only reason I'm saying that. If I was comparing just the actual quality of the figures, like I think maybe the paint apps and the colors are slightly better on the classics figure, but this one also has slightly better articulation. And while like color scheme wise, I think that the paint apps are, I like the color scheme better on that one, but I do like a lot of the detail and the washes you get with this one. So looks like I was mistaken, and that the staff doesn't quite reach down to his feet. It is still about it. Yeah, if you put it on his head level, like where the ram's head is level to his, you can see that, like, yeah, the staff just barely reaches his toe. So that is, like I said, proportionally, that's a little bit longer in terms of proportions to the figure than this one is. But I don't think it's quite as bad in terms of like the girthiness as the. That would be another thing. This would be better than the classics version. Actually, is that, like, I feel like his staff is better proportioned. This is a better Havoc staff than the classics version. I'm gonna go ahead and say that at least. The sword's really cool. I really like that deep, dark, metallic purple. Fits really nice and snugly in his hand. Both of these accessories fit really nice and snugly in the hand. It's very, like I said, very reminiscent of the original vintage action figure, and the way that it's shaded with the paint washes and everything on the face reminds me a lot of Alfredo Alcala, my personal favorite artist of the He-Man mini comics. Let's go ahead and put the sword in his in the strap. I have it strapped to his back so we can see what that looks like. Pretty cool. I love the way it shimmers, and while it is a very similar sort of color to the rest of the armor, it's got, like I said, that little bit of metallic quality to it, and that just really makes it look really cool. So this one definitely gets a recommend. If you're a fan of the 40th anniversary He-Man figure, then this is his counterpart. So I definitely recommend picking him up too. Now, I know of two other figures in this vintage collection, and I don't have them yet, but the other two were Zodak, and you know I'm a big Zodak fan, so I got to get Zodak eventually. And the other one was Faker, and you know I'm a big Faker fan, so I already have him pre-ordered from Walmart.com. I'd missed out on the previous Masterverse Faker, the new Eternia Faker, and I thought that was a pretty cool figure. I especially like the way that they had the panel actually sculpted into his chest rather than just being a sticker. I thought that was a really nice touch, but disappointingly, I missed out on it. But it turned out that was a blessing in disguise, because when I saw the vintage collection Faker, that one is much more my speed. So I'm really excited to be able to get that one. So of course I will have that up for a video as soon as I get it. That's going to be one where I'm going to be really excited to open that one almost immediately. But for now, we're done with our Skeletor figures that we had to open this week. And I hope you enjoyed going through these figures as much as I did. I'm not sure what I should open next, but I'm thinking maybe it's about time to open this thing up, because I've had this for a while. You know, it rains, it pours, and right now it's pouring Masters of the Universe figures upon me. The universe is just blessing me with Masters of the Universe all over the place, and this is going to be, I think, the next box that I open, which is the second of the Target exclusive Sunman 3-packs, and this is the one with Kikto, Holographo, and Zapman. I keep wanting to say Kitco, like rhymes with Ditko, but it's Kikto. So we'll have these guys to open up, and they're a pretty bizarre looking bunch of characters. Let me tell you that. Like I opened up that first Sunman pack, and I loved them. You know, Sunman I think is a really cool and unique barbarian superhero type character. You know, he's not just a He-Man knockoff. He's one I think is unique enough. He stands on his own, even though, like, obviously the He-Man influence is there. Let's not deny it. Pighead, you've got a nice grotesque villain. You know, Space Sumo. I already mentioned how much I love ninjas, so that was like a home run of a 3-pack for me. This one I got for cheap, and I'm glad I got it for cheap, because I don't know about some of these characters and how I'm gonna wind up feeling about them when I get them opened up. But you know, like we'll have some fun with them. WWE Wrestler says, wow, those are cool figures. I love your YouTube channel. Oh, well, thank you. You are my favorite YouTuber. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Thank you for dropping by to say that. So yeah, that's going to be the next episode. It's going to be Sunman figures. And then I've got a whole lot more Masters of the Universe to come. You've already seen Slamurai that I got to open. I got some more Snake Men. I've got some Turtles of Grayskull figures. So got a lot of cool stuff coming up. And then after that, I've got McFarlane Multiverse, more DC figures. I got more Superpowers figures. I got more G.I. Joe. We got so much more cool stuff coming up. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that, make sure you like and subscribe. All that fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Skeletor, both the character, one of my favorite villains of all time, and this figure in specifically, and let me know what your favorite Skeletor figure is in the comics. It could be any of them from the vintage to today. Maybe you like some of those CGI Netflix big chunky things. Maybe you like New Adventures Skeletor. Who knows? I want to hear what you had to say in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this episode. We will talk to you next time. Bye.